My people are here. Are my people here to sign in? Sign in.
Oh, they're here. They just haven't brought the paper up yet, so we'll get them. Okay.
I need a gavel.
Right.
Attention, everybody. I know it's a good night to visit with each other, but thank you for coming. We'd like to get started. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will excuse Trustee Moore. So if he walks in, we're good to go. All right. Let's begin. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda, but would love to have a few moments of discussion. Sorry. I do move to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. I would entertain a motion, but before that, we have something on there that we've hired a new principal and would love to have Ms. B walk us through the process.
Okay, yeah. So we did, as a reminder to the board and to those here, that Mr. Roth announced his retirement back in October. And at the end of November, we opened up the position for a new high school principal. We received 15 applications from people throughout the state and throughout the country. And we put a committee together that looked at those candidates. We sent out surveys to our students, parents, staff members, all got surveys, kind of giving us a clue of what they were looking for in a new principal. We used that to put some criteria together that we'd be using to judge the candidates. Our committee was about 14, it was a little bit larger, but we wanted to make sure and have a lot of input from our staff. And so we had a social studies teacher, art yearbook teacher, high school counselor, science teacher, math teacher, English teacher, ag teacher, secretary, special education director. We had our assistant superintendent, Lisa Pennington, came back to help us with this. Glenn Croft, the principal at the academy, where there's a lot of collaboration there. Then we had 2 parents from the community as well be on that committee. Together, they looked at all of the applicants and narrowed it to 8 applicants that we interviewed. Those 8 applicants, after we interviewed, we went through a process of looking at each applicant and how they measured up to those criteria that were asked for in those surveys. And from that, we narrowed it to 3 candidates. Those 3 candidates, we went through some work sessions with them, looking at different issues that are affecting the high school. And then I had a one-on-one interview with each of those. And then after all of that and going back to the committee and asking for some feedback, we settled on Johnny Hollinger, who is currently an assistant principal at Eagle High School. And so we called and offered him the job, and pending approval by you as a board, he would be our next high school principal. Any questions on how we went through that process and anything along those lines?
Thank you for thinking it through, and we're excited.
Okay. Excellent.
Anybody? Now I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I second that.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And we have a couple of signed in visitors that if, when you come up, if you would come up to the podium and we'll give you 3 minutes to talk. We'll start with Marcia. Did I say it right? Taylor? I hope I said it right. Did I say it right?
My name is Marcia. You were
I think it should be. Are you timing?
Go ahead.
Thank you for putting me on the spot. I'm here and I did not prepare, so I apologize. My name is Marcia Taylor. I live in High Vista Estates, which is right on the border of the Middleton School District and the Emmett School District. So we're here with our subdivision, hoping to get us back into the Middleton School District. My husband and I just purchased our house this past January of 2022. We were only looking in the Middleton School District. It was very important to us. So it was a huge shock to us when we went to enroll our children at Purple Sage to find out, no, things have changed. Nobody knows when exactly they changed, but we now belong to the Emmett School District, which is quite a ways away from us. So busing, my understanding is it takes about 45 minutes or so to get the kids to Emmett and back to our house. I work downtown Boise. My husband's on active patrol with Canyon County, so getting to Emmett wasn't very feasible. And if we wanted to live in Emmett, we would have moved to Emmett. So my kids have been thriving at Purple Sage. We have nothing but great things to say. Thank you guys for allowing us to attend. I know I've worked with the superintendent, so we appreciate you guys. So this is why we're here, to try and get us back. And we have received enough signatures, I believe, that would allow us to switch back over. And it would also give us the voting rights to help with the school, which right now we have no say in anything.
Questions, anybody?
You say get us back into, you move, you were here? and
No.
then you moved-
So our
The section of
subdivision, yeah,
land.
so our subdivision, we're at Hollow and Emmett. Used to be, everybody around us is the Middleton School District. It used to be the Middleton School District. When they advertise our subdivision, the MLS listings have Middleton School District listed. And I'd send all the ads to our house to you guys when we went to try and open enroll. It took us about like 2 months or so to get my kids into Middleton. But even after we had purchased our home, more land went for sale and it's still advertised as Middleton School District. Nobody really understands when it switched. It had originally started as Middleton. Our subdivision advertises Middleton School District on the site, and then somewhere, somehow it switched to Emmett. We only have one family that goes to Emmett, and that's by choice because they work in Emmett. Everybody is in Middleton, enrolled prior to it switching, and some enrolled after. And as you're aware, it's increasingly, my understanding is you can no longer open enroll if you're out of districts. And a lot of people who are moving to our subdivision are wanting to be part of the Middleton School District.
And I think,
When did this switch?
well, and I think we can talk about this in that discussion area, but I don't believe that there was an actual switch. It's always been in Gem County, which hasn't been part of Middleton, but the realtors were advertising as if it were a part of Middleton School District.
And they, that's
Okay.
kind of false.
Yeah, well, and we,
But, okay, no, all right, yeah, we.
and there will be
I'll have
some other
comments
offers.
on that.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
I would just like to tell you, I'm very familiar with that property. My mom actually purchased the east side of that from the state of Idaho in 1967. And we farmed it through the 70s and 80s. So I know exactly where that is. And, but we didn't have anybody, living out there then. So it was never an issue until recently when it became subdivided. But I think that we do have, part of our school district goes into Ada County, isn't it, on the?
It's all in.
Yeah, so that would be the issue of whether or not we can go into another county.
Well, so I know when you go down Hollow, and if you go down El Paso, it also turns into Gem County, and a lot of those homes are still Middleton. They're actually farther away than our house. And then I know when you go down in, Highway 30, it goes both ways. So there's houses that are a lot farther than where we're at. We're literally the line. We're like, here's Canyon and we're just Gem, and it takes us like 9 minutes to get to Purple Sage. And right now busing is also, which fortunately for us, a lot of us don't require much busing, but when we do, the buses don't come to our house. They come to Hollow and Emmett.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Melissa Kay, only because I'm not attempting your last name, but you can go and tell me.
It's plain.
Thank you, that's what I wanted to say, but you never know.
So she kind of covered a lot of it. I am also in the subdivision, but they're actually, so they're on the east side of Emmett, and we're actually off of Badger, so we're just across the way.
Okay,
And so, same thing, we moved into our house in November of 22. Our house actually was not listed as Middleton School District, it was listed as both Middleton or Emmett, so like we could go to either or. So when I registered my boys at Purple Sage, I was told I'd have to register at Emmett. So I went through the process, we were accepted because I believe at that time it was still open enrollment. So we got them there. It only takes me 9 minutes to get my boys to school versus Shadow View is the one that we're actually assigned to. And that's 25 minutes. You have to go down the canyon. There's signs posted, chains recommended during winter months. So it's not ideal.
no,
And so that was just my concern is I have heard a lot about Middleton School District. My boys are doing wonderful at Purple Sage. To the point that I love the school and I'm actually now an active substitute teacher.
good, thank you,
Almost on a daily basis.
thank you.
But I love the school district and I would really like my children to be able to stay in the school district. Partially, I mean, the schools are great, but also the distancing too. Right now it's not bad, but when winter months, when there's snow, I don't want to be having to travel 30 minutes to take my children to school and 30 minutes back.
Yeah.
That's with me taking them. Busing would be
Probably an hour.
probably an hour.
Mhm.
And for elementary school students, that's too long for them to be on a bus. Kind of awesome. Marcy covered a lot of it.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Casey Emery.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us today and
You
reading
bet.
our letters. And I am the organizer of this petition, and I'm so thankful that you've been able to look through all this information. This is a 1 mile by 1 mile by 1 mile radius out there. And there are about 50 children we're talking about in this area. One family does go to the Emmett schools. A lot of the children already out there are open enrolling in the Middleton School District. I'm sure you have that number already. Some children out there are homeschooled. Some are going with their parents to Valley View and Caldwell. Their parents work in those school districts, so they'll continue to do that. We do have some students that are coming up. One of them is my 5-year-old daughter. So I have an 11-year-old in the school district. I have a 7-year-old in the school district. They are thriving. They love it. Now the school district is closed, so I have a 5-year-old daughter. So I'm talking about maybe having to drive to Emmett, or driving her to Emmett, and that's heartbreaking to me. This whole process has been heartbreaking to me because my husband and I specifically sought out Middleton School District. He's from this area. He grew up here. He helped build the Middleton Nazarene Church with his parents. I just thought this today, we drive by the cemetery and my kids say, oh, that's where Grandma and Grandpa are buried. This is home. This is where we want to be. They say that on the way when we drop them off to school. So this is home to us. And so it was devastating to me when I made that call to Purple Sage Elementary and they said, nope, you're not in the school district, because again, it was on our real estate papers. So for us, it was a legacy thing, and that was destroyed when I made that call to Purple Sage. And that's not in my letter, because my letter was this is the issue that I'm getting across for all the neighbors. But this was an emotional thing for us, for my husband. So we have been able to open enroll, and I thank you for that. I understand why you closed enrollment. It makes sense to me. We do have a sibling though that affects now, and I can't pull my boys because they have connections. They're very connected. So we have to make a very difficult decision. But that's why I decided to organize this petition, because I know that we've got neighbors who are interested. We had everyone sign the petition. My husband's very involved with that athletics. He helped start the Middleton Optimist League here so that they could play on the Viking field. He's coached those boys up until 7th grade. Now he's going to be a volunteer coach, hopefully for the junior high. He's already in talks with them to do that. So he's very involved as a coach. We're very involved in the community. We love this community. This is really an emotional thing for us. I don't know if you can tell. I speak in front of groups all the time, but this is hard for me because this one's so emotional. It was so astounding to me because there's that geographical divide, that canyon, that I just couldn't grasp why we were driving into Emmett every day for school. And I still don't understand how they're bringing buses through that canyon and wanting to bus children through that in the middle of winter. It doesn't make sense to me. It's 30-minute drive to that elementary school. It's 9 to 10 minutes to Purple Sage. It's such an easy drive to get us to Purple Sage, to get us to the junior high. We're off the same road as the high school. We are connected to Middleton. We feel the Middleton connection. And so that's why we're here. That's why we organized this petition. And I am just grateful that you guys are listening to us tonight. Do you have any questions?
No,
Thank you.
All right.
appreciate it. Thank you.
so much.
Isn't there something? Your kids are. If not, there should be. That's what I thought if you're.
You guys can make that rule.
We haven't been since we closed it, but we can have that conversation.
We can have that conversation.
Let's, I mean, it's family. Once you're in, you're in. You probably have that conversation.
All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Don't forget that.
Are we gonna talk about it?
Huh?
Yes, we can talk about it in a minute, in a hot minute. Let's move on to discussion item A, our data review. We'll have Mrs. Goodson come on up.
So I want to talk briefly before we get into the data about what a graduation rate is and how the state calculates that. So this is a cohort graduation rate, meaning that all of the students who come in their freshman year, we're accountable for. And this tracks them clear through their senior year. They stay on that cohort unless they move away to a different school, to a different state. But we have to get verification of enrollment to another school or they stay on our graduation rate. So that's really key that you understand that component and how it works. So our registrars work tirelessly when our students unenroll to make sure that we know exactly where they're going.
So what if they come in as a sophomore or junior? They're in a certain cohort?
They would stay with us in that capacity.
Okay.
Nope, not when they start as a sophomore, sorry. It gives us a calculating start as a freshman. So this is the group of kids who have stayed together the whole time.
But if they come in as a sophomore, they're added to that cohort if we
Yes.
get their file and they're enrolled
Okay.
within our
Yep.
school.
Okay.
So what we do is at the start of the year, we start working through what the state would call an appeals process. So they send us the list of students who they have on their graduation list. We go through our list and we start to reconcile that information so that we can continue to reach out to schools. Maybe we don't know where the student went. So our schools go through 3 appeals processes throughout the fall, and they just finalize this data at the start of January. So that's how we get these numbers. So what you have here is our 4-year graduation cohort rate. So for the district, this year it's at 91.9%. The high school is at 96.9% and the academy at 71%. I will say this is pivotal for Middleton Academy to have reached a 71% graduation rate this year because the state averages 3 years of graduation rates to calculate what they would call school improvement status for graduation rate. This is enough to pull our Middleton Academy off of that school improvement status going into next year.
That is one of the few alternative schools in the state that is not on that list.
So that is a
Good look at it
huge
before.
celebration point for our Middleton Academy. You'll see the 5-year graduation cohort rate. That includes like those who take another year to finish. So this is actually the class of 2021. So those who finish after that summer term. So you'll see that as a district, we're at 93.4. High school, we're at 97.3, and the academy is at 79%. Academy is where you really see that pick up in that 5th year graduation cohort piece. So that is our look at it from 2015 or 2017 on. When we go down, this is where, and I know that this gets really small. This is our SIC district comparison. So similar to how I've given you the ISAT data, we also ran the graduation data to show you where we're sitting at when we look at SIC districts as a whole. So again, we're at the top with 91.9% this year as a district. The growth from 2015 to 2022, so I took 2022, subtracted 2015, we're showing a 9.4% increase in our graduation rate, and our 8-year average is at 85.9%. So, and that's district level data. So then if you go down one more, this is where you're gonna see the school level data. So I took all of the high schools in the SIC and kind of stacked it up there. So on the left, you're seeing the traditional high schools, and on the right, you're seeing the alternative high schools. So Middleton High School sits second in the SIC when it comes to high school graduation rate at the school level, and our academy is third overall in that. So lots of celebration points, and I think it's an emphasis point for the high school to look at graduation rate, but really it's a collective whole of our entire school system. We wouldn't be here without our pre-K, kindergarten, first, second, third grade teachers. So this is really a celebration for everybody. Any questions that I can answer for you?
Who do we gotta take care of over in Hawaii?
They've only been in existence for 2 years.
Yeah,
How
so-
can they even know this way?
So I think that date is
Right.
skewed right there, that 99.
Your question
Yeah,
is
but
later.
it's all the kids in there graduating. It's a 2-year school.
No, they have only been in school. I mean, so that
Yeah.
probably
I'm
limits.
just saying, I know some people.
No, it's still a
It's
good
skewed.
school. It's all good.
Probably really early.
Thank you so much. Any questions, you guys?
You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Little Caldwell, right down there.
You guys stop it. That's
That's weird, huh?
Demographics are way different there. All right, let's move on to discussion item B. Calder transportation contract. Are you going to do that, Mr. Pete?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, as we had discussed, in our last meeting, the Caldwell Transportation, offered to renew, their contract with us. We can do that one time in a cycle. So if you as a board choose to renew the contract with Caldwell Transportation for 5 years, at the end of that 5 years, regardless, we will have to go out to bid. Can't renew it again. And so the key there is on the second page of that proposal. The rates for all services rendered under this contract will increase 20% based on a 2022-2023 rate sheet. And that would be, comparative. And so as you're looking at it, we've actually increased, because there's a provision that allows them to increase each year based on fuel prices, cost of other, inflation, things like that. So over the last 5 years, that's increased about 17%. And so what they're actually asking is not a significant, as significant an increase as what it might look like, but we have to compare to that original contract. What you're seeing, as we looked at other groups, schools that are going out to bid, they're looking at 29 to 38% increases for a brand new bid. If we were to go to bid, it's very likely that that's the type of thing we'd be looking at. Going with the renewal allows us to maintain a lot of the parts of the previous agreement, and that just keeps that rate lower than what it would normally be. And so Pam and Cindy and I sat down with the representatives from Caldwell Transportation and walked through that process. And my recommendation would be that we renew that, and if there's any questions.
I'd say I would echo that because yes, the prices to go out for bid would be kind of frightening.
And I have to admit, after sitting in that meeting, I really got a good feeling in terms of how they feel about the Middleton School District. And they're a company that is not one of the big corporate type companies. And I just kind of felt like they had Middleton School District.
Mhm.
I mean, I know they're kind of more Caldwell because it's Caldwell School District that's doing it, but I think they are willing to listen to anything that we have to say in changes. They've got a good system going right now, so
And they have been very responsive. Anytime that there's an issue that comes up, Gina, who's the manager for the Middleton routes, I can get on the phone with her within minutes and we can sort things out. And so compared to what had been, not that I was here during that time, but the reports that I had prior to Caldwell Transportation taking over the contract, it's been very positive. So, I mean, occasionally there's hiccups, but when there are, we were able to sort through them. So
And at the end of the day, when we look at the numbers, right?
Yeah.
And we compare it to what you looked at, I mean, how much of a difference are we talking? Tens of thousands of dollars here?
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah,
And that makes the most sense. It's working, it's cheaper.
and that's tens of thousands per year, you know,
Right.
over the 5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was very fair.
Yes, very reasonable.
Any other questions?
Sounds good. You guys really dug into it.
Okay, so that will require an action later in the meeting.
Let's go to discussion item C, the annexation request. And that's gonna be you again, Mr. King.
Okay. So I wanted to just start out with a quick discussion of what annexation is and what it requires. School districts are allowed, or annexation of a territory is allowed when there's property that is right next to a school district. So, you know, we couldn't go and have a little section in the middle of Emmett School District come in, or Caldwell or anything. But when it's right next to it, it is allowed to be considered. And there's a process that has to go through. This is the first part of that process. And that would be that the petition that you received is delivered to our school district and to the other school district, in this case, Emmett School District. Both boards have to make essentially a recommendation to accept the annexation or not. And then we send that recommendation to the state school board. State school board reviews, and what it says on that statute, if you're looking at that statute on the first page, number 4, says the State Board of Education shall approve the proposal provided the excision and annexation is in the best interest of the children residing in the area described in the petition. So that they would have to make a judgment call on whether it's in the best interest of the children. And then the second part, the excision of the territory as proposed would not leave a school district with a bonded debt in excess of the limit then prescribed by law. And what that means is, based on property values, each school district has a limit that they can bond and levy for at any given time. So if that land were annexed into Middleton, that would create less property value for Emmett. And if that caused the cost for each homeowner to go above that level that's allowed, then they would not be able to approve. But Emmett does not currently have bonds on their rolls in Gem County, and so they would not, pulling this small piece, this 1 square mile acreage piece out would not cause that piece to go into effect. So then, once they've done that, if the state board approves, if they don't approve, then that would be the end of the process. If they approve it, then there is still one more piece, which is an election in that of all the citizens in the area that's affected. So at the next election, all of those folks would have to go and vote. And if the majority voted in favor, then it would be annexed into Middleton School District.
That's a simple majority.
Simple majority.
And what's the timeline on that?
With whatever, I mean, it's like for us, we have this meeting or next meeting to be able to do it within our time frame. Then it's, I don't believe there is a time frame. I'd have to look. I don't know the time frame for the school board, but then as soon as the school board's ruled, it would be the next available election cycle. And so state school board meets every other month. And so you would probably expect there's a chance it might get on for an August election or more likely into the November.
If we have August.
If we have August after this legislative session. So that would be kind of the timeline of how things would work. What that would look like from our school district perspective. We do have a number of students right around in the 30 range that are attending our schools currently from those homes. They were all currently attending when we closed the open enrollment. And if they were to come in, if that were annexed in, that would mean that then they would vote with when we voted on a bond, they would have the right to vote. Property taxes from those properties would be, used to support our bonds and levies. For those students that are, well, for all of the properties, but we have the majority of those students are attending in Middleton anyway.
Do we know how many total students there are in that section?
When didn't we say 50?
50.
Because I don't have the numbers for the students that are going to Caldwell and that are going to Emmett
Or
Valley View.
And the
Yes.
50 we counted.
You're
The 50 we counted, we included, those are the ones coming up too. They're not in school yet.
right, all of the children.
Yeah, like my little one and a couple of little ones moving in next door, and then a couple, we counted a few little ones coming up.
And 30 are already going to our school.
Going to our school district already.
So if we get the land, get the money, more money for the school district anyway.
How does that work with counties?
So then it really doesn't change. It doesn't change the county boundaries
Because it's a statute.
because it's just because it only affects the school district boundaries.
Okay.
And so what would happen, and there's a couple of things that would have to happen. We would then become what is called a joint school district. Right now, we're not a joint school district because we're all contained within Canyon County. We would then have a piece in GEM, making a joint, which just, it's a little bit more work on our part because there's, when we do an election, we have to go with Canyon County and run an election in GEM County. But that's not something that would create a cost for us. The biggest cost for us would be in 5 years, if the number of residents in that zone, and I can't remember exactly which, is that your zone, Tim? So if the number of residents in that zone were above 10% more than any of the other zones, then we would have to go through the rezoning process. But that can only happen within 5 years. So it would not be something that would, we'd have to turn around and do it because we just did that process last year. So we would have to do that there if it were above that 10%. Right now, with the number of students on the number of residents, because it's number of residents, not number of students, it would not push us above that 10% threshold. But perhaps with that and other move-ins in the area in those 5 years, it might. But that might be something we might have to do anyway because of the influx of students into the school district. Let's see. There's a number of things that have to be in the petition. You saw those listed out on the front page of the petition. The letter describing why, the legal description, which is in there. Alicia, will you pull up just for the sake of the group? And then the part in the square there is the area in question. If you'll just enlarge just a little bit there. And so you can see, and then let's scroll it up, yeah. You can see where that fits. The road coming up that splits in the middle of that is Emmett Road.
Old Emmett Road.
Yeah. And so the bottom line of that square is also the county line between Canyon County and Gem County. So you can see where that fits perspective wise.
Like with Canada,
Mm-hmm.
some of the kids in Star can come here, some of the kids in Middleton can go to West State or whatever.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Has that changed?
But that's a decision on our part to close the open enrollment, because Canada is our boundary right now.
Okay, so that's always on the boundaries.
West side's Canyon, the east side's.
Yep.
Okay,
Now, Star is annexing into Canyon County, but that doesn't do anything to our school district boundaries.
that's more city.
Yep, it's all a city thing. So questions about the process?
That might be yours too. I was thinking.
We used to be a joint school district. I know.
Did we?
In the 80s, I just don't know when we quit being a joint school district.
Well, and which part of, was it part of Ada? Was it?
Yeah.
It would have been Jim, I would have think.
We've never.
We were a joint school district in the 80s, but I don't know what happened to it then, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the piece where they thought they were there.
Yeah. But I'm 100% supportive of it just because it is really awkward and it is bizarre to me to have that huge area. If you go up
Then you
on the
have
map.
BLM, right?
Yeah, it just,
It's all
it's,
cut off.
It's all being.
these subdivisions are connected to our community. And there's that huge stretch of land between them and Emmett and the rest of Jim County. So it doesn't make any sense that they would have to go over there to.
Well, and when you have 30 kids that are already enrolled in our school system as it is.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, it only makes sense to
Yes.
do what we can, if possible, to annex that in.
Yeah.
For
I
the
agree.
future generations or whatever.
So we have students attending, but we don't have families with input.
Right.
And we're not getting the funding from that.
Correct.
We do get the state
Don't get
funding
the
from the
property
students, but we
taxes.
don't get the property tax from that property.
Right.
Only help.
Yeah.
If they're already here.
It used to be $200 an acre land, but it's a little bit more now.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Any other questions on that? So that'll,
Because we just have to let it go through the process right now.
there would have to be an action by the board
Yes, we
to
have to.
recommend to accept the
Accept or
annexation.
deny. Okay.
And then we send that to the State Board of Education, and then it's in their hands.
Gotcha.
Okay, online there's a D discussion and on here. it's
Yes,
not.
and so we probably need to do what is online.
Thank you. I was going to.
Okay, and
All right.
if you want to explain to the.
Yes, I just want to let you know, there is an item discussion D. It's not on your actual hard copy,
It was on.
but it's online that we need to talk about. And is someone here to talk about that? Or are you
No,
just gonna
it's
let us
just-
know?
Yeah, it's the track team
Yep,
is
the-
traveling out of state.
Okay,
They have a meet down in St. George.
okay,
And they're taking about 30 students. They'll be using our van and renting a couple of other vans to get the students down there. You saw the.
We're using the new van, are we?
yes,
What?
it's been used. I've heard
Yeah,
about it.
it's out. But yeah, and so we have,
Scratch my van.
it's, because it goes out of state, it needs approval by the board. Typically, when it's an IHSAA thing, we don't do that, but this is an outside of the IHSAA thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Let's move on to policy review.
Did you have a question?
Oh, I was just, as a former track runner.
You wanted to go with them.
Yeah, and why are they getting
Shane.
to go all the way to St. George? I'm kind of jealous. I've never got to go down there.
I'm sure they need chaperones, Jay.
Yeah, go. Happy to volunteer for that.
Okay.
All right. Who's doing the policy?
There have been no changes to the
No
policy.
changes, so can we
It
just,
might- it might be worthwhile just explaining to the group about why this policy is in the third reading.
Can you just talk about policy readings and changes in general so that everybody understands that
Yeah.
how we deal with policy?
So this is a third reading of a policy. Typically, policies, if they are new policies, it takes 3 different readings to enact a new policy. All of these policies were policies that we actually had on the books already, but needed minor changes. Sometimes a state law might change, a federal law might change. And when those things happen, we have to update those policies. So with these 4 policies that are considered tonight, all of those had minor changes that were all addressed during the first reading. As a group, for the most part, maybe 1 or 2 exceptions, we tried to run all of these through 3 readings because we figure it gives everybody ample time to take a look at those policies. They're not going to have much of a discussion, I would assume, tonight because all of that discussion was done in previous meetings. But so what you'll hear tonight is an action to move these policies into board policy. And that makes all of those changes permanent for these 4 policies. If there's ever a new one, it requires 3. Technically, with a change to an existing policy, you can do it in 1 reading, but we try to do those in 3 just to give the community, our teachers, anybody an opportunity to take a look at that. So I thought that might be helpful just because we got a lot of people who weren't here for the other 2 readings.
Thank you. And the recommendation is to adopt.
It's to adopt.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion on those policies.
I move to, can we do them all rolled up into one?
You can, you just have to name
Name
each
them.
one individually.
I move that we move to adoption policy 2520, selection, adoption, use, and removal of curricular materials. Policy 3340, corrective actions and punishment. Policy 3340P, corrective actions and punishment procedure. Policy 5100, hiring process and criteria.
Let's second
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
it.
Aye.
Aye. Let's move on to, I would entertain a motion to approve or deny the Caldwell Transportation proposal.
I move that we approve the Caldwell Transportation contract renewal proposal.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I would entertain a motion to approve or deny the annexation request.
I move that we approve the annexation request.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I would entertain a motion for the MHS track team to go to St. George.
Go ahead, track star.
I wasn't a track star. I move that we approve the funding for this track trip to St. George.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. I would, but
Oh, yeah, we want to move
Yes,
to executive session.
yes, Gina asked me. Okay, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I move that as per section 24-2061B of Idaho Code, to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent, that we move into executive session.
Second.
Thank you. And then we'll go by roll call.
Yep,
And then I,
roll call.
Trustee Moore.
Yes.
Trustee Dempsey.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
yes,
Trustee Powell.
Yes.
Trustee Clark.
Yes.
thank you. With that, we're gonna clear the room, but you students, please come up and get your agenda signed.